Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The undead stir from their graves and march forth at the command of the great necromancer Heinrich Kemmler. We have the Counts versus the Skaven today, as I will be leading the Vampire Counts, and Cambopero will be leading the Skaven. Now, for the forces of the Vampire Counts, we do have a front line of zombies, going to be backed up by a couple of Graveguard, one of which is the Sternsman for a nice little bit of regeneration, a couple of Crypt Horrors for some nice mass armor piercing, and of course they do apply poison as well. We do have a trio of Crypt Ghouls also on the periphery of the formation. Going to be looking for some nice damage dealings to really punch through all of those Skaven Slavers very, very quickly and get right on into the juicy backline. We also have a couple of White Kings. Both of those are going to be bringing their Scabscrath ability. Going to be providing some nice pretty much just chaff clearing with that, potentially for the Plague Pack, which is a semi-common appearance for the Skaven, but will absolutely melt to that Scabscrath. And of course it is Heinrich Kemmler going to be riding on in. He is, of course, bringing Krell. We have Wind of Death. We have Invocation of Nehek. And we also have Raise Dead, as well as the Master of the Dead ability and the Chaos Tomb Blade, which gives a nice little bit of regeneration for both those. And if he is in melee, it is a little bit better, and also gives plus 5 melee attack to the surrounding units. For mobility, we have a couple of Black Knights on the wings, and we do have one unit of Blood Knights as well. Pretty much here to do as much damage to the large targets, such as the Hell Pit Abomination. And then we have a couple of Bats in the air to either chase things off or to shut down things if they need to. Now, for the forces of the Skaven, we're going to have a bit of the high ground here, as the Counts will be charging up the hill. But for the Skaven, we have some Skaven slaves in that front line, and they will be holding things back to allow a couple of Poison Wind Globadiers to be firing on in. There's Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers as well, since they do fire damage, so that'll be very nice against any of the regenerating units that the Counts have. We have an Assassin as well, going to be bringing the Assassin's Trophy and Concealment Bombs. We have a Greyseer of Plague, going to have the Arcane Conduit, as well as he has the Warpstorm Scroll, Vermintide, the dreaded 13th spell, and he has Unholy Clamor and his Bound Scorch. On the Plague Priest side, I'm going to be up on the Plague Furnace with that nice Mortis Engine drain, going to just be having the Pestilent Breath bound ability there, and so it is just going to be a mobile Mortis engine. Everything else, all the spells, going to be on that Greyseer. Rest of the forces get some Clanrat Spears on the flanks with some Skaven Slaves, and in the back is going to be those Poison Wind Mortars going to be firing on in. They have some Warp Grinders to protect them. There is, of course, a Hell Pit Abomination going to be rocketed in, so it's going to have some nice large targets there on the Skaven side, and the Council Guard going to be holding that back line, keeping things at bay. Nice unbreakable ROR unit, very helpful, especially for a faction that suffers a bit from very low leadership. But that is going to be it for the armies. No fast movers on the Skaven side. They are going to be hunkering down and taking the undead charge. That is going to be all I have for the armies. So let's roll on into it, as both sides will be approaching one another. The mortars are going to be firing their shots up and down the hill. First shots are going to be landing amongst these Crypt Horrors, going to be making some contact, knocking a few of them down and doing a little bit of damage, but not a whole lot going to be there. And the Heinrich Kemmler going to be getting some nice surrounds off, though, with all the Black Knights and Bats getting around. One of them does get clipped by one of the Poison Wind Globadiers. And there is a summon of Clan Rats as well to slowly approach as much as possible, as the Poison Wind shots are going to be raining in from above. The shots are landing in, doing a nice bit of damage to those Crypt Ghouls. Going to be doing nice. And we also have a Scorch going to be going right on down. Going to be just going through some zombies. Still a bit of Graveguard, but not really doing a whole lot of damage on that one. But the surround is slowly tightening that noose for the Vampire Counts, as the Blood Knights, Bats, and all of those are going to be taking their positions on the rear formation of the Skaven. And now the Count's going to be moving right on into the engagement with the actual units, not just the summons. And here is going to be a dreaded 13th going to be coming right on in and Explosion doing a nice bit of damage to the Graveguard, and is going to be summoning a unit of Storm Vermin with halberds as well, really slowing down that approach. Nothing's going to be breaking through there, but a Scab's Wraith ripping right on down the line. Going to be doing some decent damage. It's just a Skaven slaves, but they really do need to just start breaking into the back line. Bats have dropped down into the rear, shutting down the Poison Wind Mortars, as well as shutting down these Poison Wind Globadiers, and that is what they are there for. They are there to shut them down. They do not need to kill. They just need to keep things from firing for as long as physically possible. Warp Grinders do use their snare and damage ability, but those bats still going to be holding that. They do finally dissipate, but they did a fine job at holding that for as long as possible. And now the collapse is starting to come in from the sides. Black Knight's going to be chasing off some of the routing units, and the Blood Knights looking to get right on top of those Poison Wind Mortars, getting a nice charge into those Clan Rat Spears, and a nice Scorch, very nice one at that. Going to be roasting right on through all of these undead. And the bell is sounding from the Grey Seer as we do get the Quake, I believe, so the Seismic Quake doing an AoE damage in here. It is not using its snare, but it is going to be doing a nice bit of damage, but it is not able to save the Poison Wind Globadiers as they are shattered, and the Blood Knights not quite able to break these Clan Rat Spears quickly enough. However, the Black Knights are going to be taking that opportunity to try and go right on into the backline, as well as these Crypt Ghouls, and more of the mobility is cycling in and out in that backline, and both of the White Kings trying as they can to get in on that Plague Priest, who is going to be draining a ton of all these units. So there's a lot of just zombies. And another Scorch going to be arcing its way right on through, and the Skaven definitely a little bit on the back foot, but they do have that balance of power. Their Assassin is going to be getting pushed out of that engagement. Both of the White Kings proving to be just a little too much for that Assassin, but actually the rest of the big units for the Skaven, the Grey Seer of Plague, the Plague Priest, and the Hell Pit Abomination are all sitting very, very healthy, not to mention the Council Guard. Storm Vermin ROR are all at full health right now, and those are really the big units for them. We do have the Poison Wind Mortars still. They've used up almost half their ammunition, but it looks like these Poison Wind Globadiers are going to be singing their last pretty soon, as they are finally pushed off and routed with a nice little charge in from those Black Knights. And at least for the time being, the Poison Wind Mortars are still shut down by a summon of zombies in that back line. Both the White Kings trying to get on top of that Grey Seer as well, and a little healing onto those Blood Knights, as those Blood Knights, keeping them nice and healthy, going to be very important at wearing things down throughout this fight. Assassin is going to try and get on higher at Kemmler, but these Crypt Horrors are going to have a thing or two to say about that. Going to be stopping that attack, and they are going to be doing some nice bit of damage there. We have some Crypt Ghoul support in the rear as well. The Hell Pit, Grey Seer, and Plague Priest still going very, very strong, and they have the Warp Grinder support here in that center. These Poison Wind Mortars finally do shatter, though, with those Black Knights and zombie summons in the area, and the Sternsmen are slowly getting beaten down by the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers. A very nice engagement for those Clan Vulcans. I'm going to be engaging a much more expensive unit, but they will have that advantage due to the regeneration having weakness to fire. And from here, it is just trying for the Vampire Counts, they just need to have their mobility, just wrap things up on the flanks, make sure nothing does come back, and just use their numbers, which they still have some pretty healthy. These Black Knights are very healthy. Those Blood Knights are still sitting pretty good in terms of numbers. These Black Knights, however, are in a little bit of a bad spot. They are going to be getting beaten down by that Hell Pit Abomination, as well as the Council Guard is also going to be up on their end as well. Going to be doing a nice bit of damage here, and they are slowly getting whittled down bit by bit. You see their model count slowly dropping. Well, the Blood Knights are going to be getting a nice charge in onto the flanks, trying to deal with things and keep this Assassin away from Heinrich Kemmler, as both of the White Kings now are pretty much standing alone, but they get a very nice Scab's Wraith. Going to go right on down the line. Not going to do a whole lot of damage to those Council Guard with their good armor, but it is going to clear out this Clan Rat summon very, very effectively, eliminating as much of the chaff, and they just need to try and whittle down those units. But the Warp Grinder is going to be using their Warp Quake, once again doing damage to all of these units, really just getting rid of these Grave Guard is what that's pretty much going to be doing at this point. It is down just to a few units of infantry. They have the Crypt Horrors still left, and some very healthy cavalry still for the Counts. And once again, here comes that Assassin trying to get in, but the Seismic Snare does stop those Crypt Horrors from really kind of screening it out effectively, and it is able to get onto the target that it wants to, and that is the White King. Going to be doing some very nice damage, as both White Kings are a little separated right now. So the White King is going to be taking a lot of damage from that Assassin, doing a lot of good work there. But the Blood Knights continuing to cycle in and out of this engagement, trying to break down the bells and the Plague Furnace as quickly as they can. And I do hear Krell being summoned onto the field. Here he comes with his... He does have Terror. he does have very nice armor piercing and bonus versus large. So now he is going to be hunting some of these large targets, and the Skaven going to need to try and avoid him for as much as or as long as they can. But the assassin is going to be its first target. Getting rid of that, it is going to terrify it pretty much right off the bat, and it is going to rout it off the field, and it is so very low. And also the warp grinders as well get terrified and routed. But there is a summon of clan rats here to try and slow things down right in between Krell and its next target. So that was a very good summon right there. Clan rats will be able to keep that Krell summon at bay for as long as possible. And Scorch is going to be going down as well, trying to clean out as much of these zombie summons and do as much damage to those Blood Knights as they can. But the Grey Seer and Plague Priest slowly getting whittled down, but that Hell Pit Abomination is still sitting very, very healthy, and a Scab Wraith will arc its way right through these clan rats, and it is going to be able to get them low enough to terrify them out, and that is going to free Krell up for a nice charge on to that Plague Priest. He's going to be charging in, swinging that big axe, and he is going to be able to land a couple nice hits. Hell Pit, he's going to push Heinrich Kemmler kind of a little farther from this engagement, but he is still going to be able to kind of skirt away. He does have a little bit more speed than him, and now the Black Knight's going to be making sure all of the returning troops are not going to be returning to the field. They are going to just be kind of swinging on through that. Blood Knights as well, getting close to their healing cap. They've been these pretty much the focus for all of the healing, because as long as they are healthy, the Counts still have an answer to the Hell Pit and the Grey Seer at this point. The Plague Priest has unfortunately fallen for the Skaven. But at this point, there's not really a whole lot left that it can do. Most of the units have been drained, and there's pretty much just single entities left. And those Blood Knights, who are going to be a little bit more resistant to that big old Mortis draining effect, but it has done a nice job surviving so far. And Krell should be getting pretty much to the end of his summon. He is still here, and you can see he still has that blue aura around him, so he isn't quite ready to be leaving this world once again, as the Council Guard going to be hounding these Blood Knights, trying to screen them out as best they can. But the Blood Knights instead going to elect to get a nice little charge into these Clan Rat Spears, and the zombie summon's going to be dragging their attention right on back. And they will be collapsing once again onto Krell to keep him away from that Grey Seer, but that is going to leave that Grey Seer available to a nice charge from the Blood Knights, and they'll be getting a nice little surround off on to him, be able to get some nice damage as the Black Knights get a nice rear charge into those Clan Rat Spears. But we do have a Scorch, and be going right down and doing a nice bit on to those Black Knights. That could take in a ton of damage, but that's about as much damage as he could have hoped for. But at this point, we do have Krell finally does drop, as he does get a final hit into that Hell Pit Abomination. But with that gone, they pretty much have to rely on the Blood Knights and the last remaining White King to deal with the Hell Pit and the Grey Seer. Grey Seer is getting very, very low. Shouldn't be too hard to deal with him. However, that Hell Pit is going to be another thing entirely. Still very, very healthy, and it does have regeneration, and it does have the potential to hit It's Too Horrible to Die, which will definitely be healing that thing up if it does get those procs. Black Knights, Blood Knights still circling around, trying to get a nice charge in while trying to avoid the Council Guard as much as they can. The Council Guard are getting very depleted in terms of HP, but they still have about 50 models left. And at their stats, they still have 90 armor, and that armor piercing bonus versus large going to be keeping these Blood Knights a little cautious, getting a charge in, but quickly pulling on out again. White King, though, getting closer and closer to his healing cap as well. Heinrich Kemmler is providing that passive healing as well, and the Blood Knights, though, have reached the healing cap themselves, as the Black Knights do finish off the last of the remaining Clan Rat Spears. And I think there is just one unit left, but it is still going to be routing. Not sure if that thing is going to be back or not. But otherwise, it is just down to the Council Guard, the Grey Seer, and the Hell Pit Abomination. And the Council Guard, they do provide Guardian ability, so that Grey Seer is sitting with a nice little bit of extra physical resist. Going to be helping it tank it all the better. But it is about to be breathing. Its last is getting very, very low. Finally going to be routed, but it is still a very healthy Hell Pit Abomination. Balance Power says it is in the Count's favor, but a lot of that is going to be with Heinrich Kemmler, and he is no melee combatant. He is a caster full through and through, so he's not going to be able to be dueling. No Hell Pit Abomination here. And the White King and Blood Knights going to be trying to, or actually Black Knights going to be trying to escort these Grey Seer off the field and hopefully bring it down as quickly as they can. And down it does go. Heinrich Kemmler looking to be dealing the final blow. And the Blood Knights are getting very, very low. Had they been still a little bit healthy, this Blood Knight, or this Hell Pit Abomination, should not have been any problem. That Hell Pit is very, very healthy. And those Blood Knights are only 13 models left. No more healing for them. Even if there is an invocation, won't be able to bring back any more of its models. So what you see is what you get for them. White King is getting very close to its final, but the Council Guard only down to 10 models left. And if they can clean them out, at least the Blood Knights should have a little bit easier time. Same with the Black Knights. But they are getting very low. They are crumbling right now. And it is only a matter of time before they finally succumb to that 6 models and falling now down to 2. And that is going to be all she wrote for those Blood Knights, while the Council Guard down to just 3 models left, and Heinrich Kemmler trying to charge them down, able to kick one of them out, killing that model, now just down to just 2 of them, and be charging on in. Getting a little too close here to that Hell Pit Abomination, as it is trying to circle and get its final hits off on to the Council Guard, and that is going to be it for them. Just down to the Hell Pit, the Black Knights, and the White King, as they try and bring down this beast. Black Knights are going to be cycling in and out of this engagement, trying to get as many charges as they can. Trying to get a nice round and allow that White King to get as many hits off as he can. But it is still going to be a very tall order bringing down this beast. And now the Hell Pit going to be turning its attention to that White King, trying to deal as much damage to it, because there is a little bit of passive healing left from Heinrich Kemmler, but it is getting very, very close to its healing cap as well. And the Black Knights are starting to crumble themselves. They won't have a whole lot of chances to cycle charge left, as they are going to be getting one more charge into the rear of the Hell Pit, trying to do as much damage. They have been able to bring it down to half health, but at this point, they are going to be finally disintegrating out. Only a few models left, and it is going to be the White King and Kemmler versus that Hell Pit Abomination. Last of the Black Knights are gone, and now Heinrich Kemmler is going to be just trying to avoid that Hell Pit Abomination to allow the White King to do, and the charge from the Hell Pit Abomination is actually going to be able to catch up to Heinrich Kemmler here, as it is going to be turning its attention, doing a little pivot on the spot there, getting another charge in, chasing down Heinrich Kemmler as the White King follows shortly behind. And all this time, that Hell Pit Abomination is regenerating more and more, as this monstrosity is just waddling its way after Heinrich Kemmler, who is getting a little bit tired here. He is only diminished, but yeah, that Hell Pit Abomination is exhausted itself and is now going to be turning its attention back to that White King, getting a little hit in. But Heinrich Kemmler getting a little too close once again, and that Hell Pit is going to be charging its way forward, getting a little smack into the rear of Heinrich, and is again going to be continuing that pursuit, charging right on through. And it is going to be coming right on down to the wire. Heinrich Kemmler does not want to be anywhere near that engagement. He's going to try and continue running away while that White King is trying to catch up and hopefully draw the attention of the Hell Pit Abomination back. And the Hell Pit Abomination, its base speed is 58 versus the base speed of Heinrich Kemmler, which is 74. Actually, it is 66 base speed. That was the leadership, his base speed, so it is higher. But if that Hell Pit is able to get into charge range, it will be able to close that gap then, and able to get a few hits into Heinrich Kemmler. And it's just going to be a little chase here at this time, so we'll speed things up as that chase is going to commence. Trying as he can, the Hell Pit Abomination does get its charge in there, but once again, that is going to allow that White King to catch up to that Hell Pit, as a few hits did slow it down just enough. And now the Hell Pit is going to focus solely on that White King itself, going to be looking to bring it down. And that White King, what you see is what you get in terms of health. It has finally hit its healing cap from the healing of Heinrich Kemmler. And Heinrich Kemmler is just going to stay just close enough to provide that leadership. If you look at the aura, he's going to get just into range, so that Encourage aura is able to overlap that White King, give itself just a little bit extra leadership to help tank through the attacks from this Hell Pit Abomination. And it is just going to be exchanging blows here in that late game. Hell Pit going to be kicking that White King down as it gets a nice attack in, and that is going to be the problem of the White King. It is going to be able to get tossed around, while that Hell Pit is going to be very resolute against the attacks of the White King. And more and more hits are being taken by that White King, and the Hell Pit is still very, very healthy, even though the balance power says that it is in the Count's favor. It is just Heinrich Kemmler left if that White King falls, and the White King definitely looks like it is going to be getting very, very low, and does not look like it's going to be able to handle the task by itself. And a hit is going to be sending that White King flying, and is actually going to allow the Hell Pit Abomination to get a charge off into the White King and kick it away once again. just continually knocking down that White King, and his leadership is still sitting pretty good, with Heinrich Kemmler sitting close enough around to give that extra leadership, but it is not feeling all too great as the hits just continue to rain in from that Hell Pit Abomination. And the White King, though, is able to kind of tank some of it, able to at least avoid some of the hits. And so far, the luck has been pretty good for the White King. Even though it is continuing to get knocked around, it hasn't taken any damage too recently. Even all of these hits seem to be missing for that Hell Pit Abomination. But that tail going to be given a little whack to the White King. Oh, chip shots there. And away goes the White King once again, getting tossed around like pieces of paper as the Hell Pit continues to just knock it around, and still the White King not taking any damage in the longest time. Maybe a little bit damage there, but yeah, it is able to just tank these shots so effectively well. 788 health is all it's got, but there is a beautiful hit from the Hell Pit Abomination, taking down half of its health. And now that White King is getting very, very low, but it's still, its leadership sustains, and it is at 0 health, and down it falls. And it is now Hell Pit versus Heinrich Kemmler. Heinrich Kemmler is no melee combatant, but he must engage that Hell Pit. But it is getting lower. It does land a hit, and the Hell Pit continues to wail away. But it is having the worst luck in terms of attacks. A few hits with its tail, still unable to connect with Heinrich Kemmler, and Heinrich Kemmler is landing hits left and right, and the Hell Pit is actually wavering now and does finally rout Heinrich Kemmler, able to best the old Hell Pit Abomination as the time did finally expire for its monstrosity. Take a little look at the after-battle report. Heinrich Kemmler felling the Titan, but still only 340 value for him, though he did have a ton of passive healing throughout that fight. I was able to top off that White King pretty nicely from just that, but the Hell Pit Abomination, almost 3,800 in terms of total value. It did a ton of damage to the White Kings, to the Knights that continued to try and hound it, but it was able to repel them all throughout the course of the fight, doing exceptionally well. Let me take a look at the rest of the Skaven roster. Poison Wind able to pay for itself, as is both of the Poison Wind Globadiers, but I believe these Poison Wind Globadiers would have liked to have seen a few more shots fired. Same with the Poison Wind Mortars. Despite they did pay for themselves, these units usually pay for themselves a few times over throughout the course of a fight. The Council Guard did quite well themselves, able to rack up a nice bit of 215 kills, and just their presence there with that Guardian throughout pretty much the entire fight was what kept the Plague Priest, who did quite well, the Assassin, and the Grey Seer alive and well. All of those units doing quite well. Now, for the rest of the Skaven Slaves and Clan Rat Spears, not going to be expecting anything too special out of them. However, the Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, surprisingly enough, they only did get 366. I thought they were having a decent engagement with the Sternsmen, though they are still the Sternsmen after all. So while they did have a bonus in that with their fire damage, it still was not quite enough. And the Warp Grinders were pretty on point as well, and having them mixed in with the single entities and those Council Guard in that late game with their snares and their Warp Quakes definitely helped quite a bit there. But as for the Count side, the Blood Knights getting 3 chevrons for them, racking out 2,200. Definitely a very strong presence on the battlefield throughout that fight. These Black Knights as well, able to get 1,000, while the other Black Knights wasn't able to quite get enough, but they were able to get up quite a few kills, clean up all of the chaff, and make sure things got chased off. Felbats, on the other hand, were just there to kind of slow down the shots of the Poison Wind Globadiers and Warders, and they did that job very, very well. They didn't need to be getting any kills, and you had the Black Knights and the Blood Knights to be chasing things off in that late game when things did finally rout. For the rest of the forces, Sternsman, Graveguard didn't do all too well. The Crypt Ghouls were able to kind of pull things out pretty well. Zombies there for chaff, but the White King, the one that made it all the way to the end, racking up 2,400 itself, doing very, very well. These things cost like only like 800 if you bring all of their items. So just with Scab's Wraith, that is a very good value train for that White King. The other one did pretty well as well, 874. Those Scab's Wraith able to really clear out a lot of chaff units, 129, 107 between the two of them, but a very close fight. But in the end, Heinrich Kemmler, his workouts definitely were paying off as he was able to best the Hell Pit Abomination in single combat. And he was able to win the day for the Counts. Very close one. And that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, have a good one.